From the heartland of America to every nation on earth, this is Jack Van Impe Presents The Truth in News and Commentary. Here now are Doctors Jack and Rexella Van Impe.
Hello and welcome to Jack Van Impe Presents. Have you ever had a time when you've been quite sentimental about your family? This past week I've been thinking and praising God so very, very much for my mother and dad. I was reared in a godly Christian home, and I'm just so very, very grateful for it. And in particular, I've been reading some things my mother wrote to me and to Jack. She was certainly a godly example to me as to what a lady, a Christian woman should be. And, you know, Jack, she loved you. Oh, how she loved you. Loved your family, loved your mom, too.
Your mom and my mom were the closest of friends, and my mother ended up with Alzheimer's disease, even getting down to the floor and thinking that she was playing a game with her brother. Alzheimer's is a terrible thing, but your dear mom took care of my mom right to the end, and I'll never forget it.
Yes. Well, she's going to get a great reward in heaven. I read something the other day. The greatest gift a parent can give is a worthy example. How very, very true. Well, we have some startling headlines for you today. Washington think tank predicts new Mideast war. And a shocking Catholic prophecy. Jack's going to talk about that. And could war in the Middle East break out even this summer? Whew, what a headline that is. And we're going to get right into them today. Our program is so very, very serious. And here is a huge concern for all of us. Seoul Minister, North Korea now possesses, look at that, 1,000 missiles. Beijing defends buildup of its nuclear arsenal. And report Iran secretly buying nuclear parts from where? Taiwan. We've been defending them for years. Iranian spiritual leader nukes our religious obligation. And U.S.-Israeli spat plant seeds of crisis. Here you see, of course, the Prime Minister, as sovereign state, Israel has the right to disagree with the United States, and that is Prime Minister Netanyahu saying those words. World Jewish leader to Obama, is U.S. committed to Israel's security? And Washington think tank predicts new Mid-East war. Israel weighs merits of solo attack on Iran. She said, I'll go it alone. Netanyahu, Israel must rely only on itself. And here again, Islamic nations will back Iran strike. War could break out this summer. Couldn't believe it. Syria warns next war will be ruinous. And Netanyahu advisor raises mutual assured destruction nuclear scenario. My, oh my. And Jordan King, Israel's long-term future is in jeopardy. Now, friends, you know we just had a summit on non-proliferation concerning nuclear weapons. Will it work? Our president is really pushing for this. Get rid of the nuclear weapons. But with everything I read to you today, do you really believe that it's going to work? How about that, Jack?
Our president is pushing for everything. Nuclear non-proliferation, it'd be a wonderful thing if it could work. All the ones I'm reading say it won't work, particularly because of Iran. Now, I want you to know, first of all, that King Abdullah of Jordan is wrong when he says they do not have a future. Speaking about Israel, wrong. See, Satan has always stood against Israel, 1 Chronicles 21:1. But the Bible teaches that Israel will stand forever. For God says in Isaiah 56:5, I will give Israel an everlasting name. Now, let's see what the scenario is in the future. This one, and it's probably going to be Obama. He's pushing for it. Mitchell is going in to set it up for him. Will make the peace. And that's how he gets the power. That's how he rises on the platform to become that ruler. What? He enters in peaceably, Daniel 11:21. He comes in peaceably, Daniel 11:24. He makes a peace contract for 7 years, Daniel 9:27, but it's broken after 42 months because Russia says, I'm going to go against them that are rest their peace. Obama's made the peace, if he's the one, and Russia breaks it. Now, you can't go against someone to break the peace unless there is one, and it's Russia who's going to do it, and it's the war of the latter years and the latter days, Ezekiel 38, verses 8 and 16, under the titles of Gog, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, and Rosh, cities in Russia today, Ezekiel 38, verses 1 and 2. Well, they fail. A fire devours before them as they come down to the Middle East, Joel 2, verse 3. They're pushed back to Siberia, verse 20. And the prophecies, blood, fire, pillars, columns of smoke, in verse 31. Now, that's the exact effects of a nuclear blast, pillars of smoke and fire. The next move is the Arabs join with them as the Federation of Allied Nations. And you can find that, of course, in Daniel 11, verse 40, Egypt, Isaiah 17:1, Syria, Ezekiel 38, verses 5 to 7, which is Ethiopia, Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, parts of Africa. And then in Psalm 83, verses 5 to 7, you see all these nations of the Arab grouping there, the ones left over, so 20 or 25 nations. And they are the children of Hagar that produced the Jordanians, produced the Lebanese, and so many others. All right? But that fails. And so finally, China comes. And these headlines, Rexella. Yeah. There is Beijing building up her nuclear force. There is even Taiwan selling materials to Iran. And that's the culprit. That's the one we've got to watch. That's the one that is making America afraid. Because if they ever get started, it's going to be hell on earth. But I was amazed that even the Arab nation said, we will join Israel. And that's Ezekiel 38:13. Sheba, Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish. Look up Sheba in your dictionary. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. And it's going to be a Holocaust, believe me. And it's going to be fought in the Middle East. The term Israel is found 18 times in Ezekiel 38 and 39. I'll just give a few of them. Ezekiel 38, verses 8, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19. Chapter 39, verses 2, 4, twice, and 7, 9, 11, 12, 17, 22, 23, 25, and 29. No doubt about it. Atomic weaponry, a fire goes before them. That's when Russia marches, Joel 2:3 already said. Zephaniah 1:18, the whole land shall be devoured by fire. Malachi 4:1, the day cometh, it shall burn as an oven. Revelation 8:7, a third part of the trees and grass was burned. Now that's good news because 2/3 isn't. That means it's going to be a limited war. It's not the end of the world. The world abides forever. Ecclesiastes 1:4. That's why we all believe Isaiah 45:17, Ephesians 3:21. It's a world without end. Amen and amen. I think that covers those headlines, Rexella. And they say that this thing could start this summer, and it's going to be the most ruinous thing in history, according to Syria. Wow, we're living in the final hours.
Oh my, oh my. Well, I want to thank the Lord for our very dear friend, Dr. Charles McVitie of Toronto. What a man of God he is. And he was kind enough to share a statement with us from his country of Canada. And this is what he had to say. The Canadian Prime Minister, and of course that is Stephen Harper, delivers global governance plan. Now, the one world system, the New World Order, has arrived and in place but needs governance. And of course, governance means that they need a leader. They need someone to rule and guide.
This is great.
Is that not right, Jack? Well, somebody agrees with him, and that is Kissinger. And I've used this over and over, but it's so very, very important.
To prove that he's saying instead of us, Rexella.
Yes, Obama's primed to create that new world